I have no idea if this is got it. It's going to be live streamed, it says to us.
Okay.
All right. And I'm going to go and paste this back here. Okay. Oh, I guess it just goes in. All right, perfect. I have no idea if this is here we are. It's going to be live streamed, it says to us.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to get rid of that. We are live, everybody. This is so exciting. Hopefully everyone's finding us. I'm actually real quick too. I'm going to go over to YouTube just to make sure on my phone, because last time I wasn't on, as Carly, you know, because you were like, where everyone was like, where's Vidette? I was on a different link. So I just want to make sure we're on here. Okay. And I'm looking at people's stuff. Okay. We are live, ladies. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Daily Tune-In. It is Friday. I was not here yesterday, and it has something to do with the message today. So I'll kind of share some of my perspective of what yesterday was all about. And I have invited, I went out to the Ascension Incubator and the Ascension Bank members, asking if anyone else would come on and discuss their perspective of today's message, because we've had some really beautiful, deeper conversations within those two spaces, the incubator and the Ascension Bank, about our perspectives and how vastly they're changing, how vastly our behaviors are changing, our awarenesses are changing. And when I say vast, it seems like they're just shifting in just a small, different perspective, which puts us in a completely different understanding of that perspective of our reality. So as our realities are shifting, as our energies are shifting, as our consciousness is growing, we are becoming all new human beings, basically, all new spiritual beings, multidimensional beings, and we are learning how to work with the supernatural inherent skill sets that come with being multidimensional. But we're all learning it together, and we're all having our own perspective of changing perceptions and how that changes so much in our life. So I want to read the message for today really quickly. Oh, hi, Jessica. I see her on here now. Yay, this is so cool. So here's the perspective, or here's the message for today. It's not very long, but I'll start with this. There has been a story of life. Once that has been lived, mostly in autopilot, unconscious, and fully led by ego. Throughout your awakening, your perspectives have moved, shifted, and evolved as your awareness has evolved. For the last 2 years especially, you have been deliberately shifted into a perspective of being. It has come in many ways. However, the collective and community in which you live has been part of the same process. The opposite end of the imbalanced, conditioned, third-dimensional expression of doing is being balanced with the balanced, inherent, and natural expression of being. The opposite expression will also be true at this time, where those who are good at being in their conditioned world will now start to gravitate to the doing a little bit more. Are you answering the call to be and see where that may take you? Or are you falling into old patterns of shifting out of the curiosity of being led down your soul path into the denser should energy of doing? Today's Daily Tune-In, we're going to talk about this. So the question is, are you following the call to be more, or are we still being tempted to fall back into the doing and the things we should be doing? So what sparked this, and I felt this opportunity to practice with this yesterday. And as you all know, I come on here at 4:00 my time every day to do the Daily Tune-In. And yet I had an opportunity. I was invited to go to outside of town and with a friend, Bud and I, and to explore an area around here that's called Blue Eye. It was an amazing and magnificent place. The nature was incredible. Like, I mean, how do you put words to, like, nature is incredible? Well, duh. But it was what I was finding. First of all, I was afraid to not fully, but I was kind of afraid to say yes because I was like, I don't know if I'll be back in time for the daily tune-in. And yet I knew inherently when I started these daily tune-ins that I was not going to be able to say no to experience or say no to my soul and to be here on the daily tune in. I was not going to be asked to do that. So if I was led down a pathway that made my heart expand, part of my practice was to get out of the fear of I have to show up, I have to be here at the daily tune in, this is my job, right? And to have it be part of the job sometimes to say, I'll be back tomorrow. I have to go experience something. I have to get a new perspective to bring back here and share in a higher expression. So yesterday, as quickly as the thought came of, oh, will I be back on time for the daily tune-in? My soul basically wouldn't allow me to even think about it, to worry about it. It had to go down the pathway that I was being called so that I could have the realization and the perspective yesterday that in every given moment, pretty much I was in full awareness because I was, in the amazingness and the hug and the nurturing of nature. Water was everywhere. I saw colors I had never seen before. I heard silence I haven't heard in a long time. And all of a sudden, I was in this moment of awareness where I was like, this whole day is a storehouse moment. There wasn't this going on like there has been for years. There isn't healing that's need to be done. The healing that was done was sitting and being okay and being in full joy and gratitude at being in the storehouse moment almost every single moment of the day. And at the end of the day, it felt like a lot of work. We were all exhausted, but rather than just go home or like do it like back in the day in the conditioned world, you'd work all day and come home and maybe have a drink to forget about the day and hopefully go to bed with peace. Yesterday, we came back and we went for a drink to complete the day, to give each other a cheers at sunset. And Bud and I came home and we were so filled. We fell asleep early. We feel like we've been hit by a truck today because now I've learned that we've had several CMEs, coronal mass ejections, as well as solar flares in the last 24 hours, which were part of the integration period of being so open and then integrating these energies. So that was just to get the conversation started about how I'm noticing in these moments of how we're being asked to veer towards where we may have been quite uncomfortable to go in the past, which is either the pathway of being for most of us, but for some people, they're having to do a little bit more because they have maybe been imbalanced in the being part. So my question for you both is how does that show up for you as far as turning to the pathway of being more? Because I just know that for both of you, for our conversations, we're all practicing with being and balancing out our need to always be doing. Does anybody have anything on that?
Yeah, I'm still totally right in the middle of that challenge.
Yeah.
In fact, the spirit has said one more week, and it's funny because as dry and windy as it's been, I pulled up next week because I was thinking maybe I would schedule 1 or 2 or 4 or 5 or 6 and it's gonna rain like most of next week. So
Yeah.
like, no, guess I get another week and another session and I'm just gonna be good with that.
Yeah. So Christine, you're talking about the sessions that you do. Is that right with the horses? Yeah. So what you're being asked to do, and I know this has been something that you've talked about, is like having to be more, say no to your sessions more so that you can rest and heal your own body and your own mind and, all of it. And yet you are pretty, what's the word I want? You have many clients who are in need of your services, and those clients are horses and they are nature, and you are a nature lover. So it's hard sometimes to say no to nature. And now nature's like, it's okay. I'm just going to send rain your way. So like we can laugh at that, but that is how it works. Like you said, spirit saying, no, it's not time. I love that you're recognizing that.
And everybody is so, I mean, they're just like, you take care of you first. We're all here. So
Yeah.
it's just awesome that when you let people know, hey, I need this time for me and I have to take it for a change. eh, Just like when we told you for your trip, it's like, oh, go have a beautiful day. You know, we're all still
Yeah.
here. They're all still there.
Yeah. And they are, and I knew, like, it's just, yeah, I knew that to be, there was something that came up with you too. It'll come back. Carly, how about you? How is the process of learning to be a little bit different than you've always been conditioned to be, happening for you or occurring for you?
I cannot tell a lie. I've had more emotional like this in the last probably 6 months than I've ever had in my life.
Mhm.
So, always been spiritual, meditated, all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, I'm getting panic attacks like out of nowhere. And
Yeah.
I just thought, what is this? And I thought, you know, what is this? So, over a period of time, I had to learn to live with that or learn ways to transform it in a way that I could live with it because it wasn't going away. I mean, it would come and go, but
Yeah.
every time it would come back, I'd be like, oh, shit, not again.
Mhm.
So, anyway, develop some strategies like cold showers, breathing to deal with the moments of fear and gradually learn to transform them. Um, and then the sadness came, and then other things came. And so, my way of being right now is learning to take those feelings and be with them and not say, oh God, I'm really like an undeveloped person. I'm really like nowhere. But no, not saying any of that, saying, wow, this is my path to ascension, and I am going to experience this fully and do what I have to do to learn from it and take care of it. So I hear people that say, oh, these energies coming in, I'm just in bliss. It's just wonderful. And I'm like, oh man, I wish that was me. But when those energies come in, I feel it as increased emotional stuff that I work with. And it's getting easier because I'm not so attached. Like I kind of know what's going on. And by the
Yeah.
way, that was the thing that attracted me to your daily tune in to begin with, is that you were talking about ascension symptoms. And boy, did I have them. And I thought, I didn't know what was going on with me. Like one day I wake up healthy, the next day I'm like, can't hardly breathe. It just was so wonderful to realize that there was a reason for these things
Yeah.
and to be able to live with them, move through them, and eventually be done with them or have them at a more comfortable level. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
One more
well,
thing is that when I
yes.
do go out in nature, giving myself that, it is incredibly beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. There's a lot of different directions I could go from what you said, Carly. However, this is a beautiful perception that I perceived yesterday. Our friend that took that he has a car, so we kind of like we swap out. It's beautiful. It's like the 5D lifestyle. Like he has the car. We'll grab him a couple beers wherever we are, or he's our neighbor, so we're always like doing communal dinners now here. And I say always, it's only been 2 months, but it's been a dream come true because I've always wanted that world where neighbors just are like, hey, got this fish today, you want to do it? And Bud's like, I'll cook this, I'll bring dessert. And so our beautiful friend Pat got up in the morning, and we were all texting back and forth as to what we were going to do. And he then said, hey, I got to like hold, he'd probably laugh if he knew I was telling the story, but he wouldn't care either. But he was saying, he's like, hey, give me about an hour. Cause he said, I have diarrhea. He's like, basically, he said it. He said that was my interpretation on it. He's like, but I don't know. I don't feel comfortable getting in the car yet. So we were making fun of him and all the while. And then I texted him because he knows my speak. He follows me on Instagram, but he's an analytical not ex-military, retired military. So but very young. So he's like, you're crazy when I talk about the sun and the energies and all of this stuff. But I texted him and I was like, hey, it could be something you ate the night before. But what I also know is that we've had some solar flares and some CMEs come in. This makes a really big difference. And I talked like science talked in my text to him. I said, it makes a big difference. It's altering everything, your whole nervous system. So you might just be purging. But going back to that, so he was purging then when we got out there, he finally got himself together enough, but he was worried. He brought like toilet paper. It was like that kind of scenario. He's like, I'm going to take my toilet paper, but I want to go here with you guys. I want to take you. And so we went out, and within minutes, he was like, I feel better already. We were hiking up back. We had a hike like a mile back. He's like, I feel really good already. And he's like, I just need to get in the water. I was like, why do you think you need to get in the water so badly? He's like, I don't know. He's like, I always just feel better. I was like, because it's nature, it's medicine, it's cleansing. You're going to get in there. He got in that water and was swimming around like a little kid for a while and took his wetsuit off because he's a diver. And at the end of it, he was just like, man, nature is medicine. He was using my language. And it was the most beautiful shift of consciousness, because I saw yesterday in all the conversations, the little nuggets that I would throw out to him in joking and be like, it's that nature energy, it's 5D energy that you're swimming in there, but Pat. And he's understanding what I'm talking about. And he, like, whether or not he fully embraces it yet, I can tell that he's listening. And that change in perspective, I saw what our job is here. We have been talking about it in helping people, assisting people through this process who don't want to go right to the spiritual nature of it. They just know why they're shitting their pants and why they've got headaches and why they're, everything's all discombobulated. So it was interesting to see, like, how far could I go into our speak before I had to pull it back and keep it a comfortable conversation for him to understand what could be a possibility that these energies are shifting him. So that was interesting. And I read something too that I put it into words that was so beautiful. And as we are dipping into these lower ascension symptoms and going through these moments of panic attacks and anxiety, it's very popular. Not popular, but it's very common. A lot of people have reached out to me just saying, I feel so much anxiety right now. What's going on in the energies? Or I feel I'm having panic attacks. I've never had those before. What's happening is we were in that conditioned matrix world. We were conditioned to be anchored in to the denser frequencies of fear. All of everything that we have experienced that takes us down into those depths is a form of fear. Anxiety is worrying about something that, isn't here. Panic attacks, sadness, all of that is all legit. But we were taught to just stay there, be anchored in it. So as we start to anchor into these higher frequencies using the skill sets of our breathing techniques, of meditation, of recognizing open the storehouse moments of our awareness, we are pulling ourselves out of being anchored into that third dimensional grid. So as we pull out, we're still getting the residual snapback of the sadness of all of that. So what you were saying, it comes in waves, because you're just like, think of it as a positive thing as we're starting to get to those moments, we're like, oh, here's some sadness again. If we just say, oh, wait, I've just pulled out of another part of that grid. Let me just feel it and let it work through me. When it's done, right? That one individual thread that was still stuck into that grid energetic grid that has now been released, and you then anchor in on the other side of that wave of sadness. You anchor into a higher dimensional frequency. Yeah. Let's talk about, there was something else. Hold on one second. I want to go to, and if you have anything, there was something else that when I read, it came back to me. The other thing too, about the opposite expression, because I do know that there is in this world, I don't know how these people existed because they escaped the programming of always doing, but there are also those souls who are really good at being in the world. they didn't do a lot of the busy work, but they did a lot of being, but they're being called to do a little bit too. So exhaustion is some of the symptoms that we're having too, because we're doing a lot of work during the day and during the night, and especially when a day like this comes in and the energies are just really flooding in. It's giving us a lot of stuff to work with. And a lot of stuff that's becoming work for me is understanding the realizations, the new connections, the dots that are being connected. I'm starting to look back on previous lifetimes and make connections of higher understanding, of deeper understanding of why some of that has happened. And it's changing my perspective of that, which is helping the peace, because all of these little perspectives that maybe were caught up in my past where I'm like, I wish I could change that. I'm getting new insights within the last 24 hours. All day yesterday, I kept being taken back and connecting dots and understanding things where I left there with a whole new perception of a lot of things in my previous life. And I pulled out of the old programming of remembering those moments from a sad place or from a angered place to a place of peace. Not necessarily like, I embrace that and that was awesome. It was just like, oh, okay, I see that. Is that happening to you all at all? Go ahead, Christine.
I had an amazing, now that you say that, connect the dots moments yesterday. It was, you just got to love Spirit. I mean, Gus is freaking amazing. I was perusing on Nextdoor because sometimes it's rather comical, especially around here. And this lady actually posted, and we have had weird stuff here lately. The sky is like an off color for Colorado. And there's been in and amongst the wind some strange noises with nothing visible and some strange vibrations with nothing visible. And she actually posted and asked if anybody else had heard it. Wow. So I private messaged her and I said, yeah, I have. I can feel it too. And maybe, and without going, because I could tell that just took everything she had, because she was so afraid. I could feel that she thought she was going to be judged. Mm-hmm. I said, get some sunlight. If you're sensitive to the EMF that's exploding right now in the CMEs, so get some sunlight, put it on your body somewhere that you're comfortable with. And she messaged back one more time. She's like, it almost feels like doom. I said, don't go there. Don't go to fear. Go find some, I said, find some Hertz music at 111 Hertz. If you like the Tibetan bowls, Google on YouTube. I'm like, you can search YouTube. And she's like, oh, thank you. And I was just like, oh, yeah, it was that. That's
what it is. It's so much simpler when we were getting the call to all right, it's our time. And I say our community, we talk the light worker talk. We know we're all here to do something for our world. And this is the time that many of us are being called to do something, to step into a higher expression of doing by being more. And as we're being more, and you were in an awareness of being, obviously, when you went on Nextdoor, you were called to be on there for a reason, to answer someone who might just be this close to she's aware of something, but and that's how this is going to happen, or it's how it's happening, is people are waking up by just becoming aware of something, being like, what was that? And having you right there to just answer a question in such a normal and compassionate and neighborly way was what we're here to do. It's so much more simple. And that was just by being with her and hearing what she said and offering your experience. That, I think, is a lot of the connections yesterday was oh, it's that simple. Oh, it's that simple. And it's just it was blowing my mind all day yesterday of all of these examples of how we are being asked in these 90 days, especially, not especially, but I think it's the focus of these 90 days. I keep saying it, but it's going deeper and deeper into my awareness of this is what it's about. It's about the more you be, the more you are aware of the feelings, of the vibration of the people around you. And you can find the people who are having questions, who resonate enough with you that you can help. But if we are in a land of doing and doing things we should be doing and not being, we are going to miss those people. And we are not doing, here's, I was going to say, like in the third dimensional world, you'd get a, a little bit of, you get a write up and say, you're not quite doing your job well enough, but our job is to be in the awareness of ourselves so that we can resonate with others who might need to pull up into a higher awareness that we can open up for them by seeding the idea of it's just like what I did with Pat. What if it's this? I don't know what it is, but here's what helps me: getting out in nature. I have an upset stomach, I get out in nature. And it seems so simplistic, and it will for so many people until it just expands. It just expands. Carly, anything from you on that, or anything else to come up for you?
What I'm really noticing too now is when I come across people or meet people or see them, I can feel and see so much more than I used to be able to. And the love that I feel is just overwhelming. Mm-hmm. And that, I was like, wow, that's different. That's really nice. I've always tried to be a loving person, but this is like love on steroids or something. Mm-hmm. It's just huge. And to feel that, and to even like look at myself and feel that for myself, which is a challenge, but becoming much less so, like just really like looking in the mirror and going, you're really, you're trying really hard, you're doing really well, like good for you. So that love energy that I'm feeling, that's just the best. It's wonderful.
Carly, what comes up for me on that is like that's the reflection then of all of the clearing, like the cleansing that you were talking about, all the densities, the clearing, because now that's becoming a reflection of you. And it goes back to our conversation in the Ascension Bag. I think it was Wednesday. I get all of our conversations like a little bit confused, but I'm pretty sure it was Wednesday. And somebody brought something up about, I'm seeing, whatever in the world is rude or, resentment or judgment, whatever. And I forget what the actual emotion was, but Mary said, if it's within you, you're still going to see it because it's being reflected back. But by you saying, Carly, that you're seeing more and more of a person, you're seeing from the eyes of unconditional love. That's the eyes of spirit. That's the eyes of the essence that you are. So it tells me that, and it reminds me as well that, because I've had that same experience of more deeper connection with people. And it shows us that we are that. There's more of that in us now than, oh, who's that person? And oh, what are they doing here? And yesterday I saw, we met a German couple that came in, and he had a drone. And it's so funny because I hate drones. It was like, we're in the middle of this beautiful place, and I hear zzz, and I was pissed. I know, but listen, so I was kind of pissed. I was like, okay, am I going to speak my truth and like give this guy some fun? And then let's be like, hey man, like I just like to listen to nature, and see how and I was all like trying to get myself prepared for that conversation, and then while I was getting prepared, we were still being in our day. And Bud and I I only jumped in the water once. It was so cold. It was so cold. Like it shocked my body, but I knew that my body needed that cold water. And I got out, we were kind of getting dried off and getting ready to move on. And this man came up to me, the German guy with the thing. And he said, hey, I just wanted to show you this. If you're interested, I'll send it to you. And it was drone video of Bud and I jumping in. And it was like really far up and looking down at this incredible, it's called Blue Eye because it's like the most bluest water I've ever seen. And it was a natural spring and it looked like an eye. And we like jumped in it shows us jumping in. And I was like, I want that video. Can you send it to me? So here's this guy who was judging for bringing his drone. And at the end of it, he was the open the storehouse moment when he's like, I have this beautiful piece of footage that you can take forever and have this memory. And it was like, awesome. But so I was like, okay, Gus, that was pretty funny. That was a good, so, instead of reflecting the judgment, I was shown another way to see this man. And it turned out that, what I thought was an inconvenience for me was actually a gift. So I kind of giggled with that on the way back too. And was like, And by the end of it, I emailed the guy and invite him and his wife over for dinner because they're going to be in our area. And who knows, maybe we'll have new friends from this. But either way, it's the way in which we are being shifted on our perspectives is really, really fascinating to me, whether it be just a call to get on a digital platform called, what did you say, Christine, the neighborhood, I used to be on that next door. Yeah. Yeah. Or to see someone with an open heart and unconditional love, like you are, Carly, which then allowed you to see it in yourself, like that's the most beautiful, that's how this works. It's really an introspective, the being forced to be, and I don't want to say forced, but being asked to be in such an urgent way that we have been is really showing us how far we've come and how and what this whole journey is about. And it's really about coming from unconditional love. And it sounds so cliche to say, but we're all starting to feel it more and we're starting to settle into it more. And we're like, oh, okay, I'm kind of getting this. And I know we feel it on our Ascension Bank calls because, as soon as we get off, we're all on Telegram 5 minutes later being like, I love you guys. You're the best. And thank you for your insights. And we are seeing it more and experiencing it more. And the more we see it, the more we can point it out and the more that we can be there for people. And that's how this goes. It's just an evolution of unconditional love being paid forward over and over and over again. And that's the flood, we have a different flood going on. And I think that's so beautiful. Let's check in with the comments because now I'm all fancy now. I got both platforms up. Okay. Jessica says, good morning. Isabel says, thank you for all your good vibes. The sun is back here. Oh, that's interesting too. 2 days of sun and blue skies. It feels so good. It was the first days of sun and we got in April. It's still so cold. That's something interesting too. We've noticed a lot of changes in the sky. I don't know if you all have too, like literally, I've talked about this. I don't know which call or even on the daily tune-in, but the sun is all over. Some days I don't know where it's going to rise because it's been rising in different places. And even our friend Pat yesterday, like when a really analytical, logical, like anchored in 3D person says something about something weird, I'm like, might want to pay attention to that. But he was like, the sky's been so weird and the sunset's like completely in an opposite, like in a weird direction than it has been. And I was like, yeah. And I don't know how to logically put that together. I know we're all like, our planet's all over the, the orbit at this point. So I have an idea, but it's interesting to notice even the skies when these energies come in. Today, it is completely cloudy. It's a big haze. So it could either be when these energies come in, I have noticed in my experience, and I pay attention to this stuff pretty seriously, when there are these big storm days, energetic storm days, it gets really cloudy. So I don't know if it just churns up the atmosphere, which I think it does, but I also know that I do know that we have been sprayed, not unlike the chemtrail idea, but the opposite expression, with spray that has gold particles in it, and gold is a conductor. So it will pull some of these energies and ground some of these energies before they even get to us. So it doesn't fry us, like it doesn't completely scatter and fragment humanity. So it's just interesting to watch, but Isabel's got sun in her area. So that's interesting just to notice as well on this big day. Good morning. That's how I found Vedette too. Ascension symptoms. Energy was heavy yesterday. I feel like I was in a daze. Yeah. I feel like I'm in a daze today. I feel like when the energies are high and that my container was fully open and I was it was like a fire hose of good yesterday. So today it was interesting. I woke up and I was like, oh my God, I felt like I'd been hit by a bus. So I was like, here's another perspective. All of the work that I've done in the 3D world that has sucked my soul left me exhausted. All of the work that I'm doing that's filling my soul leaves me exhausted. So there's a balance that's also kind of needed in there as well. So when we have those storehouse moments that just keep coming, there comes a point where we have to be like, okay, enough of that now so I can integrate that. So there's so much work going on. As we kind of conclude this and come down, I'd love for you both to maybe share a storehouse moment that's happened in the last day or two, just to keep the attention and our consciousness on the storehouse of good, karmic good that we do have. And sometimes good isn't always comfortable, but good can also be really beautiful. And if you all have anything you'd like to share your good so we can celebrate it with you, I'd like to hear it. Carly's like,
my
I sat
mind is
panic
blank
yesterday.
Christine, can you go and I'll think?
Well, I
Yeah,
kind
no
of
worries. I don't want to. Don't worry about it if you can't think of anything. Good, but last thoughts. Let's have out just last thoughts of our conversation. Go ahead, Christine.
Oh, I think, and Brenda posted the cutest picture of her daughter laying in the warm laundry.
Yep.
And that's notice. That's all we have to do. Like you said, keep it simple. Notice these small things and just appreciate freaking everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Simplicity is like a really big exclamation point lately. I keep saying it, but you just said it and I'm going to say it again. Yes. Like, yes is the message that we're getting on that. Keep it simple.
I've just been noticing, well, first of all, meeting the people in the Ascension Bank was just like a life raft to me, because I went through my whole life. I didn't talk about spirituality at all because no one got it. But now I know people that get it and lift me higher. It's so amazing. And I also have to say, I'm having like a deeper, fuller appreciation and love for my husband, which I guess sounds kind of trite, but honestly, I always admired him, but now I'm just seeing like the depths, and I feel so fortunate that I have that in my life. So, yes.
I think that's really beautiful. That one, like my heart, hang on, I have to breathe through that one, because that's how many people, how do I want to say this? So I want to affirm it. I just thank you for sharing that, Carly. I want to affirm that everyone feels a deepening in some relationship, whether it's a relationship that might be really healthy or maybe a little bit imbalanced. Allow that kind of unconditional love and that kind of perspective to boil up for every single person who is in a relationship that might need a little bit of help at the moment. And if we could just affirm in this community that everybody looks at each other, whether it's a spouse, a friend, a family member, a coworker, somebody that you have a relationship with, doesn't have to be a bad one, but just see it in a whole different perspective that comes from a place of unconditional love, and allow that just one shift for every single person to just shift love, unconditional love through our planet. I think that's a really beautiful place to affirm, to stay, to allow our I am presences to come together on this community, and just allow every single person on this call and on this recording to sink deeper into a relationship, open your heart even wider. And I had that same moment with my ex-husband yesterday, with a moment in consciousness with him. My heart opened, and I simply saw a relationship differently. So thank you, Carly, for reminding me of that. That must be something that we're being called to do as well. So two different opposite expressions: someone that you have love for deepened, someone that I must have some kind of love for. I have that unconditional love, spirit love, and it's taken me into a deeper expression of expansion so that I can see my relationship with him in a different light. And I shared that share with you all in the Ascension Bank because it was a really beautiful moment. So thanks for reminding me to mention that too, because relationships are being healed and elevated and evolved as well. I think that's definitely what's in these energies. Thank you, ladies, so much for coming on here. I keep telling you, I'm inviting people. I'm like, I don't really know what this is, but I did get feedback on our last one. And it seems like our community likes to have the different perspectives. So being brave enough to come in here and share that. Thank you both so much. I value you both really a lot. You know that. But thank you for coming on. For all of you on the YouTubes over here on my phone, I'm so glad to see your familiar names. There's still conversations going. I was so energetic yesterday. So we had two different, we're having different experiences, but different perceptions, and we're all right in the same place that we're supposed to be. So thank you all for being here. Thanks, ladies. I will see you later next week on the Ascension Bank calls. Christine, I'll see you tomorrow. And for everyone else, have a beautiful weekend. Thank you for being here. Thank you for our supporters. We had Sharon and Jean that supported the platform. And if you'd like to support us, I have a link on the YouTube video in the chat so that you can support this channel. We can keep coming to you with beautiful conversations about something people don't talk about, but we know about and like to talk about and like to share about. Thank you for having this beautiful consciousness. I love you all.